Hello, 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 everybody. All right, I'm gonna go live here on Instagram. Hold. We're gonna talk today's topic. The continuing H-1B foreign worker debate is what we're going to discuss. So let's make sure everything's going. We are live on Instagram. Hopefully, we got it going here on Rumble now. I fixed that. Should be good. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We are live. Give me just a second here as I make sure everything is up and running. It's okay. So breaking news. If you've been following this debate, you're having trouble with which one? The Rumble one? Yeah, the Rumble's having trouble. All right, we may not be there on Rumble. We got Instagram, YouTube, and I believe we got X live. If you have been following, yeah, we're good. Okay, if you've been following this debate, it's been raging since Christmas Day. The H-1B foreign workers replacing American citizens, and it's been raging on X. If you're not on X, you probably are pleasantly and blissfully unaware of this, kind of raging MAGA civil war, as some people have called it. But and I'm sorry for those who are on Rumble. I'll try and get that fixed afterwards. I'll post this as a video afterwards on Rumble. But this debate has been raging, and we've been waiting. Elon Musk and Vivek has been speaking on it. All the tech bros have been speaking. A bunch of MAGA accounts and even the news media is covering this story now. And Trump has largely been silent on the issue. And just today, he came out with these statements. So I'll get this up on the screen for you here. What he has said. It's. I got to be honest with you. It's not what. It's not what I was hoping to see. It is not the statement I was hoping for. I. Yeah, I'll put it on the screen what he said. This is from where did this come from? New York Post. Let me get it on the screen for you. Present. Hold on. We're going to select the screen. No, that's not working. Yeah, here we go. Okay, cool. We got it. All right, we got it up on the screen for you guys. This is from my X account. Follow me on X if you don't, please. I do appreciate it. They are censoring us again on X, even if you disagree with this stuff. Good luck, because Elon's not happy with you. Several people have already lost their blue check marks for speaking up. Elon has been ratioed multiple times. If you don't know what ratio means, that means when you say something and somebody comments underneath you, and what the comment underneath gets more likes than you do. That Elon, the richest man in the world, the man who has the most followers on X, has been ratioed multiple times in the last few days. Some of them by accounts with like no following. And it just shows how unpopular his position is. So Elon has taken the position that we need 8 more H-1B workers. And honestly, his position is not even really coherent. He said we need geniuses. Let's have the geniuses of the world, and that's how you help America. And on the other hand, people are saying, hey, well, that's not what H-1Bs are. The H-1B program is for like grunt coder workers, and it's being abused and being used for like line cooks and stuff. Like these aren't just geniuses. And so his position doesn't really make sense. But then he doubled down, and we need more of these H-1Bs, and people disagree, and he's calling Americans retards and lazy, and that's why we need foreign workers. It's been ugly the last few days. And I am someone, I don't hate Elon. I've been backing him for the last few months. He really helped us on X being free compared to what it was, and on helping Trump get elected. I mean, that stuff has been huge. But on this issue, he's people who have disagreeing with him are losing their blue check marks, and he's threatened to basically shadow ban them. People are losing their accounts. Some people are losing their accounts. There's multiple examples of that. So it's not been good. And we've been waiting for Trump to speak on this because in the past, in 2016, well, let's start with what he said in the past. And I don't think this is going to show here. I'm going to pause it. In the past, he said the H-1B visas are very, very bad for workers. It's very bad for our workers. It's unfair for our workers, and we should end it. That was in 2016. Here's what he said today. President-elect told the Post Saturday he supports immigration visas for highly skilled workers, appearing to side with Elon Musk in the rolling intra-MAGA debate on the issue. Quote, I've always liked the visas. I have always been in favor of the visas. That's why we have them. He said over the phone, referring to the program. Then he said this, because there's some people who are out there saying, oh, Trump didn't mean the H-1Bs. He used the term. He knows what he's talking about. He's been talking about this since 2016. He says, I have many H-1B visas on my properties. I've been a believer in H-1B visas. Now, I've been a Trump supporter since 2016, 2015. And I gotta say, man, like, what is the excuse for importing foreign workers to work on your own property instead of hiring Americans? How is that MAGA? Um, I can't agree on this issue. I can't agree. Now, I'm not going to completely bash Trump. Before I went online here, because I was about to do a live talking, and we will get to this, mostly on Elon and his perspective, I really want to go into how, his main goal is to get us to Mars. Like MAGA and making America great again, that is not his main goal. We'll talk more about that. He wants to get humanity to Mars. He said this very clearly. So I want to talk more about that, but just before I went online, just before I went live here, which by the way, if you don't subscribe, if you don't follow me on X and Instagram, Rumble, YouTube, please, and share, like, all that good stuff. Just before I went online, this news broke, Trump's statement, and I was like, should I talk about this? And I went and I spoke to my wife about this because my initial reaction, I will tell you, in my core, I am for the people. I am for the working class. I'm for the middle class. That is why. That's why. That's why I care about, even pay attention to politics at all. I didn't. Like most of you, I was disenfranchised, or what's the word? Disillusioned during the Obama years and the Bush years. It's like, this is a uniparty. Who cares? It's all nonsense. Because I care about the people. I want the people of this country to succeed. And so when I see a statement like this, and hiring foreign workers and replacing Americans, it pisses me off. I just, to be honest with you, it pisses me off. I don't like that. And so I have this I see this statement by Trump, and I went and asked my wife what she thinks, and she's a little bit more calm than I am, and so she says, I don't expect a ton from these politicians. Basically, I don't expect these people to be perfect. Basically, not to put words in her mouth, but. Yeah, and can we avoid World War III? That would be great. And to some degree, I hear that perspective, right? Like, it's better than the woke left. The craziness that would have happened with Kamala. It does feel like a knife in the back. I will be honest with you. It does feel like a knife in the back. I'm not saying, oh, let's totally, bash the guy and he's horrible. I'm not saying all that. The guy took a bullet for the country. But if we're going to go the path of Europe and Canada, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. All right, let's go back into the history. What's been going on instead of just this recent news on Trump's statement. So What kicked this whole thing off? Well, this by the way is my X page. I post a lot of breaking news on here. I follow a lot of good people. I post a lot of good breaking news, so you should follow me on X. How did this thing start? If you don't know how this started, very briefly, this guy on your screen right now, Sriram Krishnam, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. He was appointed in an AI department. He's going to be, it's not even like a cabinet level position. I think he's just going to be somebody in charge of like AI policy, right? And his statements on H-1B visas came out because of his appointment, and because they're controversial. And he said basically that there should be no caps on these foreign workers in various countries, meaning take the cap off of India. Let as many Indians as possible come in because of meritocracy, right? Which is bull. And we've learned that since then. It's not meritocracy. What's happening in a lot of cases, and we can look at the headlines on this, there has been multiple court cases, examples, and investigations on this, where in particular, Indians using this system have come in and then hired only Indians, basically. They use it as a way to, okay, now that I'm in, I'm going to hire my buddies from India and bring them in also. And so the idea that we're going to remove the cap on India on how many H-1Bs can come in on that country means flooding the country with Indians, and they would dominate the system. So what Indians have done, and I got to be honest with you, hats off. In one sense, hats off to them because they played the system. They're smart and they're taking care of their own. I wish Americans would do the same. But unfortunately, if you try to have Americans do the same, you will get called a racist. If we try to take care of our own, right? American citizens, all of us here that are already here that are citizens, if we try to fight for our own, we're racist. They do it, it's not a problem. But Indians, and I will tell you this from experience, because I have, by marriage, I have relatives and I've seen it. They take care of their own, right? And most cultures, unfortunately, except for white Westerners, most cultures take care of their own. White Westerners have been hit with propaganda for decades. And so so many of white Westerners have been learn to hate themselves, unfortunately. And that's why you see these white liberals who hate themselves and want to apologize for being white. It's sad. But most cultures will fight for their own, and Indians in particular will they band together. And so they have played the system, and so this guy's statement and what he's doing is no surprise if you know much about Indian culture. They back their own. And so it's no surprise what we've seen from Vivek also. He's come out and said, hey, let's have more of this. And let's end the cap. Let's make it so we can have unlimited Indians come into this country. So that is how it started. It started that way. And then it turned into this. People have pushed back and say, hey, wait a minute. What are these H-1Bs? So let me give you guys a few, let's look at all the bookmarks here. Let me give you guys a few examples of how this stuff works. Oh, yeah, here's a perfect example here. On your screen right here, and for those listening, because I'll post this as a podcast later on as well, you can find the podcast, Spotify and Apple. Just look at my name, Joshua Fontanilla. Here's one firm that hired 1,000 employees in India after the CEO fired 900 staffers over Zoom. Oh, and who is the CEO? He's on the screen there. His name is Vishal Garg. So he comes in. This is how this works. And there's countless examples of this. This is from February 2022, Bloomberg. This Indian CEO comes in. He takes over the company. He fires 1,000 Americans. And then he hires 1,000 Indians. That's how the program works. It's horrible. It's a horrible program. And so since this controversy started with, what's his name again? Krishnam's since Krishnam has come out and said, "Hey, let's remove the cap on Indian workers." Which, if you know this, you know what he's trying to do. Just bring in unlimited Indians. And look, I don't even hate Indians. Like I said, that's pretty smart for them to play the system. But Americans should also be smart. It's like when Trump has said, "Look, these foreign countries that are playing America, I don't even blame them for it, because they are doing what's in the best interest of their country. They're smart. My problem is with our leaders who are stupid and are getting played, because we should be seeking what's in the best interests of our country." So these Indians whose loyalty is to India and to their fellow people have they played the system, and so people have called them out on this. And in response to this is where the whole controversy, the whole giant MAGA civil war that's happening right now, has come from the response. The response from the tech bros has been to call anyone who speaks up on this racist. Elon Musk has agreed with posts calling us retards. Vivek has come out and said that it's lazy American culture that has led to our problems. And so Americans are being called lazy and retarded and stupid, and we ask for training. Oh well, they say there's not enough Americans who are trained on these things, on these tech issues, and so okay, well, why don't you give us the training? And Vivek's like, or no, Elon says, nah, if you need schools, it's already too late. So you're not gonna get the schools. You're not going to get the training for it. We're going to fire you and replace you with cheap workers. That's what is going on. So what came from this is Americans started realizing, hey, this H-1B visa system, it's all public information. You can look online and see who these people are hiring. And so you go and you look it up online. And here, let me give you some examples on your screen here. 7-Eleven cashier in Connecticut paid $24,000 a year. So Elon is telling us, oh, it's the best and the brightest. It's the best and the brightest, and that's why we have to have this. We could just imagine, you guys could be keeping out the next Einstein by not allowing this system. In reality, it's cashiers. Here's a list: store manager, store manager, store manager. They can't find store managers in American store managers? No, they can. They just want to pay them less and have indentured servants. When you come here on an H-1B visa, you are at the mercy of your employer. If you can't just like, oh, well, I don't like the way you're treating me. I don't like, my hours. You're making me work too much. I'm going to go work somewhere else. No. You're sponsored by that employer. You leave America if you lose that job, right? That's how it works. So they want indentured servants, and they want to fire Americans and replace us with indentured servants from a country, by the way, whose culture, not the best culture in the world. Have you been to India? You probably haven't, because who wants to go to India? All you got to do is look up and again, there's not anything against the people. It's the culture. The culture stinks. Any culture could suck. Any group of people, any ethnicity could have a crap culture, have a good culture. The culture is the difference, not the race. But India's culture sucks. It's terrible. All right. It's a lie. So here it is. This is from the VP of Cognizant, admitting under oath that visa workers are not more skilled than U.S. workers. This is what Elon has been telling us for the last 3, 4 days, 5 days since Christmas. He's been saying, look, these are the best workers. You guys are retarded. You don't know. You don't have the skills. That's why we have to go hire these foreign workers. Here is the VP of the company Cognizant, and under oath, he sent. Here's it is on the screen. He says, Mr. Padnabham. I hate to be mocking, but I don't know how to pronounce this name. Padmanabhan. Anyway, the CEO, this guy, admitted that visa workers are not more, quote, skilled than U.S. workers. It's not. It's cheap labor. It's cheap labor. You're being replaced in America by cheap labor. Now, Here's the hope. We talked about Trump. I mentioned Trump's statement. Here's the hope. Stephen Miller is his like chief advisor. And I know Bannon was one of his chief advisors in the past. And Bannon has been killing it on this. Tucker Carlson, I know he's got the ear of the president at least somewhat because Tucker Carlson has a big megaphone. He's been speaking on this. But here's Stephen Miller. This was back in 2001. And he says, talking about another guy that he believes tech propaganda H-1Bs. Quote, no guest worker program is more rigged against U.S. workers. Majority of H-1B workers are paid substantially below medium wage for their occupation. And then he gives a reference on this. Tucker Carlson has said the same thing. At least a half a dozen, this is quote from Tucker, at least a half a dozen members of the in-house team are in fact Chinese nationals in this country on H-1B visas. So we haven't even talked about the security threat of having foreigners run all these tech companies. And then he goes on, they're in charge of developing algorithms to censor what you're able to post on Facebook. Not good. Not good. From 2003, there was an investigation on it. I'm not going to play this. By the way, I recommend follow U.S. tech workers. That's a great account to follow for information on this on X. Don't just follow them. You should give me a follow as well. But they have great resources on this. Okay, so U.S. issues over 1 million non-immigrant visas to Indians for the second year on record. But we have people now in the Trump administration, in Trump's ear, telling him we should remove the cap. That's not enough. We need more Indians in this country. There's another one. Amazon just had 9,200 warehouse jobs approved for H-1B visas. Warehouse workers? So this is the problem. Elon is telling us you need these people because they're the best of the best. Reality is we're talking warehouse workers. Warehouse work. You can't find warehouse workers in America. Yeah, you can. You just don't want to pay them slave labor. All right. So and you know, the Indian government has been lobbying for this. There's a headline from India today. They've been lobbying, trying to fight anyone who wants to curb H-1Bs. By the way, if you want to end this kind of program, just tax remittances. Money sent back from America to these countries, tax them at 100%. You can't just send money back. You can't work here, take the wealth of this country and send it out of the country, because that's what's happening. And a lot of this would end right away. And the same thing would happen in Mexico. I'm from California. I have roots within the Mexican community. I grew up in a Chicano community in Salinas, California. And I know what happens is the workers come over here, they work here, they send their money back to Mexico. That's how it works. And it drains this country of, it lowers the wages of Americans, takes away our jobs, and then uses our wealth and sends it back to that country. You're draining the wealth out of this country. You're taking the opportunity away from Americans. And I'm against it. No matter what race is involved, I'm against it. Okay, so let's talk about Vivek. Let's talk about Vivek's comments on this. See if I can pull them up quickly. These is just more examples. I mean, just ridiculous examples, you know, of the visa system getting abused, you know, all these associate professors, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, breaking news. This just happened. A massive scheme has been uncovered involving Canadian universities smuggling Indian citizens into the United States. So Canadian universities, by the way, if you want to know what happens when you flood a country with a bunch of Indians, you flood a Western country with a bunch of foreigners like that, Canada just did it. They just did it the last 10 years. And their prime minister well, not their prime minister, one of the European ones, has admitted that this was done on purpose and it was a failed thing. Canada, you go there now, that's why that country's collapsing, because they have flooded the country with people that are of a different culture. The housing prices are through the roof. Places are crowded. They're taking the jobs, and then they're bringing in more and more Indians, and the floodgates are open. And okay, so what are they doing? So this happened in Canada, and now they're trying to import it to the US. So this is breaking news. A massive scheme has been uncovered involving Canadian universities. So the colleges in Canada smuggling Indian citizens into the United States. The students will obtain visas to study in Canadian schools and then pay the universities to smuggle them into the US. By the way, that's basically how Elon Musk came into this country. I'm not saying he got smuggled in, but he came in, from what I understand, he came in through Canada and then into the US. It's through a Canadian university. Interesting. And then you wonder why, okay, why is he pushing this? And this gets into what I really wanted to talk about. Let me pull up VVEX. I'm going to get this off the screen while I pull up VVEX. Hold on a second. Okay. So let me pull up VVEX comments, and I can find them easier here. Do a search on mine. So VVEX has said that we need to have this kind of, you know, we're not working hard enough. We're not working hard enough in this country. So antithesis. And that is why we're getting replaced. Where is it? All right, here we go. Here we go. No, that's not it. Sorry, 1 second here. I'll get this quote. Yeah, he said it's our culture. The problem is our culture. All right, I'm on his page. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Vivek Ramaswamy. He says the reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans, native, quote unquote, people who are already here. He's not talking about Native Americans, Cherokee type. Isn't because of an innate American IQ deficiency. A part of it comes down to the C word, culture. He goes on, our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s and likely longer. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. Okay, well, first problem is it's not true. There are tests, there are studies that have repeatedly shown that U.S. engineers do better than foreign engineers. And then we could talk IQ tests, which gets really ugly when you start to do that. People don't want to look at that information, but go ahead, do some research on IQ tests and what the IQ scores are for Americans versus India, for example. Okay, so he says the culture. In other words, you are not working hard enough. You are, having fun. You jocks and cheerleaders instead of math Olympiads. You're having fun. What he's describing fundamentally is a difference between Asian culture, South Asia, that's India, right? India and China, there's a similar kind of worker culture there. Not completely the same, obviously, but it's an Asian culture versus Western American culture. That's what he's describing. And at its root, it gets down to philosophy. It gets down to religion. Whether you're a religious person or not, you can understand this. And I think this is fundamentally why we're having a problem with Elon and why his views are going to conflict with MAGA. Because ultimately, MAGA at its core, whether you realize it or not, and I'm not saying you have to be a Christian to be MAGA, but whether you realize it or not, what made this country great is Christianity. It's its philosophical roots that underpin why we are a republic, why this country started. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at Asian culture. Think of this from Elon's perspective, and then we can contrast it. Oh, I'm just seeing comments here. Elon is not a Christian. not to bash on him for that, but he's not a Christian. I'm a Christian. Elon's not a Christian. He has said that he likes the teachings of Jesus. Okay, that doesn't really mean anything. There's a ton of Eastern religion people who say they like the teachings of Jesus. They like them. You know, ask them if you like the part where Jesus says, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man can come to the Father but by me." And they probably don't like that part. They like the part, "Oh, I love your neighbor." Okay, but that's kind of meaningless if you don't accept the other stuff he said about himself, that he's the Son of God. Okay, but he's not a Christian. He's an evolutionist. That's very clear. He believes in evolution. Now, if you're a Christian like myself, try to put yourself in the mindset just to understand where Elon's coming from, of somebody who is a evolutionist. They believe that humanity, this thing that we have where we're conscious, where we are these incredible beings, humans, being able to understand the environment around us and change it and create all this incredible technology and interact with, you know, we're more than just regular animals. Animals can't do this stuff. You know, human beings are incredible. If you come from the evolutionary perspective, you think that this is like a one in a bazillion chance that something like us has, well, you wouldn't say created, but has come into being accidentally, right? Because ultimately, evolution, it's just one big accident. So if that's what you believe, then it's like, you know, this one in a billion chance it's happened and you have it and you can't let go of that. And if you think that that humanity itself could be extinguished, could go out of existence, then that would be the most tragic thing that could happen in all of the universe. And so you have to fight to keep consciousness, our human minds, alive. And so Elon has talked about, you know, this idea of his life goal is to keep consciousness alive, human consciousness in the universe. So if this planet, which he thinks may become uninhabitable, I think that's nonsense. I don't believe in climate change, all that stuff. I don't believe it. But, you know, there's a lot of people who do that. And he, you know, you got to realize he just came out of leftism like 6 months ago. He's got some of these views. He runs an electric car company, right? So he's okay, well, what if we destroy the planet with climate change and we lose the spark of humanity? We lose consciousness that humanity has. This one in a bazillion accidental chance that human beings have been accidentally created. What if we lose that? Can't have that happen. So we have to make it so that humanity is able to travel the stars and go to Mars and places like this. That way, if a meteor hits not America, if a meteor hits Earth, it won't just wipe us out. If humans destroy Earth through climate change or whatever they think, right? I don't believe that, but you know, whatever. If we destroy Earth, humans won't be gone because we're on other planets also. We'll become interplanetary, and it'll be harder to wipe us out. At its core, by the way, this is no different than the Tower of Babel. God destroyed natural events in their mind, but God destroyed humanity, and they want to make it so that's not possible again. Build a tower above the rise of the floodwaters. Now God can't flood us out, so we can keep humanity alive against an act of God. That's essentially what the Tower of Babel is. That's essentially, he doesn't realize it, and I'm not saying he realizes this, but that's essentially what Elon Musk is trying to do. He's channeling that humanist idea of, I am through my own power going to keep humanity from being destroyed by, you know, fate, chance, act of God, quote unquote, right? So I'm just talking from that perspective, right? So if you can understand from an evolutionist point of view, again, I'm not an evolutionist, I'm a creationist. If you can understand from his perspective why it's so important to be interplanetary, that is like the most important thing to him. I would wager to guess, if you were to give Elon's truth serum, you know, shoot him up with that stuff that makes it so you can't lie, and you were to ask him, hey, would you trade, if you had to choose, would you trade, on the one hand, you get to take humans to Mars and colonize Mars, but it costs you the United States ceases to exist. The whole country, somehow. I'm just a hypothetical, right? If you were to give him truth serum and ask him that, I bet you he would choose humans in Mars. I bet you he would choose humans in Mars. And he would think that he's doing the right thing. Now, I would vehemently disagree. And that is fundamentally why his worldview conflicts with MAGA. You cannot, if your goal is humanity surviving in the stars, you cannot at the same time be America first. You just can't. Your goal is different. Elon Musk wants to go down as the man who made it to save civilization. Save not just civilization, humanity, the human species. He thinks that's his calling. So with that in mind, like, you can understand where he's coming from. Now, I disagree, but you can understand it, and you can see why he will fight tooth and nail for this. Now, ultimately, what he's describing, I'm not saying he is a communist. Again, I like the guy. I love what he did on X, giving us freedom of speech, and he helped Trump get elected. But ultimately, what he's describing here, this worldview of humanity is more important than the individual, that is the essence of communism. That is what leads to communism. I'm not saying he is a communist. Don't misunderstand me. But that's what it leads to. If you're an evolutionist and a secular humanist, it makes perfect logical sense to work for humanity as a whole being more important than any individual, right? If you just believe that we're just some really evolved animals, the individual really doesn't matter that much. What's more important is the whole group, the collective. That's what communism is, right? That's what it leads to. That's why a communist can go and they have no qualms about masses of their own people and their own countrymen starving for the greater good, right? Now, Christianity is the polar opposite of that. Americanism, what founded this country, and what ultimately is underneath MAGA, what is the foundation of MAGA, is the exact opposite. Christianity says that the God of the universe created us. This amazing thing that we're able to have minds that can comprehend the everything around us, the natural world, and do incredible things and talk and just put thoughts out there, and you can understand them. Animals can't do that. They don't have technology like us, right? This incredible stuff was created by a designer who's far above us. And that designer viewed individuals, each and every individual, you, as so valuable that he was willing to himself come down as in the form of a man and die, even if he could just save one. That's how valuable each individual is. The dignity of the individual. This is why, of course, leftists don't care about abortion, not a big deal. On the right, when you believe in God, you say, no, the individual is very important. Uninhabited planets, incredible, massive, glorious out there in the cosmos, worthless compared to one individual. That is what Christianity says. That is what undermines American and Western culture. That is why we are not collectivists. We are for individual rights. That is why the individual is the most important thing in America. So with that mindset, should you make your children work nonstop and study nonstop, and you don't get to have sleepovers and do sports and stuff? No. You need to work for the greater good, and you need to work for your family and for the community, and you need to have the best of the best of the best of the best. And the country needs to succeed, not you. Forget you. Right? You see the difference. You see the clash in mindsets. The ironic thing is that our system leads to greater achievement, even though we don't have this beehive collectivist mindset of you're all just workers, and your goal in life is to maximize corporate profits or, raise the GDP. No. You are valuable in and of yourself. So that mindset the Christian mindset actually leads to greater achievement. So, I mean, just talk about H-1B visas did not exist before 1990. What kind of things did America create before then? What things did we innovate before then? We didn't need this. Americans were able to do this without a bunch of foreign workers. I mean, you look at the astronauts from the moon landing, whether or not you believe it happened. Truly, there was some advanced technology. At least you can agree with that. But those astronauts, you look at their background, Buzz Aldrin and these kind of people, they weren't, only study, only do the math Olympiad. No, no, no. These people were well-rounded. They were athletes as well. In fact, you had to be well-rounded. And so this kind of holistic view of let's improve the holistic of the individual instead of just making you a nonstop do math test drills or nonstop spelling bee drills, that actually produces better results, because you were made in the image of God, and God is not just a worker bee. There's all these aspects to you, right? Maybe you have interest in poetry and you have interest in all these things, and you could do both. I mean, look at our founding fathers and how well-rounded these individuals were, right? Yeah, they were great orators and statesmen, but also they had interest in writing and reading history and farmers, but they were also running businesses and well-rounded individuals. That is the American ideal. And Vivek is looking at that and mocking it, right? He's mocking that. That doesn't work. You guys need to be nonstop workers, and that's why we need to replace you. We need to replace you because your culture sucks. Now, is there some truth that there's been a decline in American culture? Of course, of course. But this is where we get to the fundamental root of the problem. What should you do then if the culture has been deteriorated through the school system mostly? Well, you fix the schools, right? So one person on X has summarized this debate. The guy is called autistic capitalism, which is an interesting name. Autistic capital, that's what he is. And so he said, and I don't know, maybe he deleted it by now. I'll find the post. He said, yeah, he might have deleted it by now. I think he did. Yeah, he deleted the post, I think. Yeah, I can't find it. No, you deleted it. All right. I'll summarize it for you. I can find the screenshot later and I'll post it again. He said that he summarized the debate between the tech bros and Americans. I'm summarizing now. He said what happened in this debate is the tech bros came and said, we need to replace you Americans because you're a bunch of lazy retards. And the response of Americans was, okay, if you don't like our work, or no, it started with, we need all these foreign workers. And the Americans come and say, well, why don't you hire us? And the tech bros say, no, we can't hire you. You're a bunch of lazy retards. And the Americans say, well, okay, well, if you don't think we have the skills to do the job, well, why don't you just train us then? And the tech bros respond and say, well, you can't educate away. You're retarded. You can't fix that. Education won't fix it. And Elon Musk responded to that and said, yeah, that basically summarizes it. He basically agreed with the idea that Americans are retards, lazy retards. That's a problem, right? I mean, you're insulting the American workers. You're insulting the whole country. That's not MAGA, obviously, and that's what gets to the root of the issue. They don't want to solve this problem. Again, are there some cultural issues in America where, a lot of kids coming out of college today are don't have the same work ethic as in past generations? You could argue that. There definitely are some cases. But when you say, well, okay, let's fix the education system, which, by the way, I run my own online school, thinkexodus.org. We're trying to do that ourselves. But when you propose that to Elon and Vivek, people like this, hey, let's fix the education system then, instead of just importing a bunch of foreign workers. Their response is no, no, we don't want to do that. So they do not want Americans to prosper. They want the country, which to them means the companies, the top companies like theirs, to have new heights and find, get to great new inventions using workers working 100 hours a week and things like that. But the individual Americans who are already here, nah, screw you guys. We don't, that's you guys are not the goal. So this is an issue that some people, and I'll wrap it up here. Some people, nice people, are trying to, avoid a big debate and, can't we just all focus on other issues? I'm sorry, guys. This is a core issue. This is what makes MAGA. Like, I'll put it this way. If America never launches another rocket, if we never invent anything else, which is not going to happen, but just hypothetically. But at the same time, the trade-off in this hypothetical is that the American worker and the American family has ready access to the American dream, where they can support a family without having to be, in massive debt and being a wage slave, and they can actually be financially independent, and the American dream, right? If I had to choose between those two, I'm picking the American family's welfare 7 days a week. Easy, easy. That is MAGA at its core, is the American dream, right? There was a time in the country, back when we were inventing more stuff, when we were doing better, there was a time in this country when a man could get out of high school, get a job at the local factory, get married young, and support a family on one income, buy a home, own his own home, not just rent, and have a little excess income to actually live a decent, dignified life. That happened in recent memory. You're not going to tell us that's not possible. It happened. We want that again. That's MAGA, right? At its core. So if you're telling me that you're going to replace middle-class workers, people making, 60, 70, 80, 100,000 a year, 150 a year, you're going to replace those jobs with foreigners. That is attacking the very core of what MAGA is. And I will tell you that the root of our social problems, our moral problems in this country, come back to those economics. You think this is just an economics issue? Especially if you're a Christian like myself. Oh, I don't want to get involved in this. This is just economics. No. This is a spiritual issue. Because I will tell you, if the man can't do that, if he can't get a job like that, then guess what? You're going to break up the family. Because now both mom and dad have to work. And once that started, you just look at American history. Once that got rid of the factories, moms went to work and divorces started to go through the roof. And the family started to break down and the morals of society broke down. So this is, and that leads to the spiritual decay that we see in this country. So this is a spiritual issue. And in order to fix this, it's going to take economics, but it's also going to take, Christians are going to have to stand up on this and say, in order to make this country moral again, we need to care about this economic stuff. This is not a side issue. This is a deal breaker. And I don't know where this is going. I mean, Trump has given his statement. The point of this is not to bash him, but he's given his statement. It's not what I'm hoping for. Stephen Miller has said otherwise. And his vice president, Vance, has said otherwise. Hopefully they will get in his ear. He won the election, with a lot of donations from tech bros, and maybe he's paying them back. But I would suggest, if you're listening to this, pressure him. Continue to apply pressure. These men are just politicians. I'm not in a cult. They're not God. I don't have blind loyalty to any man. And politicians will do what the people who pressure them want. And if we just sit back in the back seat and we don't say anything, then guess who's pressuring him? The tech bros. And your jobs are going to be gone, and this country is going to disappear. But if you pressure and you speak up and you say this is not acceptable, do you want to lose the midterms, Mr. President, and then be a lame duck president for the last 2 years? And what happens when the wolves in the swamp come after you? We're not going to back you if you turn your back on us. If you pressure him like this, he will listen. And so my advice is to pressure him and pray for this country. All right, that's all we got for today. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow me on X, on Instagram. I'm even on True Social. I'm on Gab. You can even find me there as well. I might have to dust those up because a lot of people are getting censored on X again. I hope that doesn't continue, but I have hope that Elon's at least going to come to his senses somewhat. But I'm on Instagram, YouTube. Follow the YouTube channel. Subscribe, please. Share, like, all that good stuff, as well as the podcast. I will post the podcast audio of this as well. Thank you. God bless. Let's make America great again.